So what even is a Raspberry Pi, and how do people actually use these things? I'm going to explain to you guys exactly what a Raspberry Pi is and how I and other people actually use these things in the day-to-day. You're going to learn a lot in a really short amount of time here, so buckle up. So in really simple terms, a Raspberry Pi is just a computer, just like your laptop or your desktop computer. It has everything you'd expect from a computer. It has a processor chip, it has an Ethernet port, it has USB ports to plug your mice, keyboards, webcams into, it has HDMI ports for you to plug your monitors into. The biggest difference between this and your computer at home is they designed it to be super flexible so you could design whatever you want on top of it. You'll notice there's no display, there's no battery, there's no keyboard, there's no mouse built in. They make no assumptions about what you're going to need for your project, and they just give you the bare bones computer to work with. It doesn't even come with software or an operating system. This is just a blank slate for you to program onto, add hardware onto to build the perfect thing for your project. Because of that, it's very small and compact for the amount of computing power you're getting. It's really affordable for the amount of computing power you're getting. You're only paying about $50 for this thing opposed to a comparable laptop at like $200. And lastly, this thing is also super power efficient. This thing just runs off a regular USB power supply, uses far less energy than most other computers you have will use. So that's all these things are, but don't let all that talk of custom coding and custom building things scare you away at all. There's such a large community behind Raspberry Pi. There are hundreds of thousands of projects that all you have to do is drag and drop the software onto this and they just work, no coding required. So let's jump into some ways you can actually use these things. The first use case is just going to be using this as a regular desktop computer. I'm going to show you for this first one how comically easy it is to actually set up software on one of these things. You just need to download the free Raspberry Pi imager from their website, then get a micro SD card and plug that into your computer. Then just click on Choose OS. You'll then see a big list of a bunch of different stuff you could upload to your Raspberry Pi. We're just going to use the default Raspberry Pi operating system. All we need to do to get the software on the Pi is put the micro SD card in, and that's it. Then we just plug power into the Pi, an HDMI cable to go to our monitor, a mouse and a keyboard so we have some extra control, and then we have quite literally a full computer just like you'd have on your desktop or your laptop. Using a Pi as a computer is a pretty simple one, but you'll see how easy this stuff is to set up. Let's get into some of the more interesting use cases. I'm just going to rocket through these because there's so many. The first one is called RetroPie. RetroPie basically turns your Raspberry Pi into a retro game console. You'll be able to play retro games from like NES, N64, all of that, all locally on the Pi using HDMI cable and the USB ports for a controller. It works great and tons of people use it. So the next one is Pi-hole. This software is really dope and it's basically an ad blocker for your entire home network. I won't go into too much detail on how it works, but you basically plug your Raspberry Pi into your home network. It then totally blocks any requests from any ads being shown on your network. It'll block ads on any device that's connected to your home Wi-Fi, whether that's an Apple TV, whether it's a computer, phone, whatever. It's not going to show YouTube ads. It's not going to show any ads. This works really great and it's a very popular solution. Next up is one of my favorite use cases. It's running on this Raspberry Pi under my bench here. And that is HomeBridge, which allows me to adapt any non-HomeKit devices to Apple HomeKit. It also has this Zigbee antenna plugged into it via USB that allows me to connect to Zigbee devices with Apple HomeKit. HomeBridge is amazing and probably my favorite use case personally for Raspberry Pi. Another one I use all the time is called OctoPi. It's for 3D printing. Basically, the USB cable plugged into my 3D printer is actually plugged into a Raspberry Pi that's behind it there. The Pi basically spoofs itself as a desktop computer, so the 3D printer thinks it's plugged into a desktop and is receiving 3D printing files from it. I can then access that Raspberry Pi from any computer on my network, whether that's my desktop here or my laptop, send files to my 3D printer wirelessly. This means I don't have to have my laptop or my computer plugged into my 3D printer at all times, and I can just access it to print it whenever I want. I have another piece of software running on the same Raspberry Pi plugged into my CNC machine that does pretty much the exact same thing. It's called CNC.js. There's also a whole bunch of different use cases for using a Raspberry Pi as a server, whether that's local or online. This could be anything from storing a bunch of media files on a flash drive plugged into the Raspberry Pi so you can access all of your movies from any device in your home because this is connected to your network. Or even using it as a web server to maybe host your website, or some people host Minecraft servers on these things. There's just so many things you could do with a Pi. Anyway, I went a little bit down the rabbit hole there, but I hope that was somewhat helpful and give you guys an understanding of what a Raspberry Pi is and what you could use it for. I love these things. I have like 6, 7 of them, and they're all running different things, and they're a huge part of my little tech setup. If you have any questions on them whatsoever, please drop in the comments. If you're using one for something cool, let me know that as well, because I love this stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I'll catch you in the next video.